Hi there, this is Nahid Patel, a clinical psychologist, and I'm in front of you with the topic of anger management today. But in order to benefit from it, there is a tip. You have to get rid of all mindsets and labelings that it is not going to work. Just concentrate on what is being said rather than who is conveying it, means the content of it, and then activate your right brain, because our left critical logical brain sometimes does not let us work on our creative ideas. Even if there is no novelty, no new ideas, there are reminders for the motivation, and reminders we always need to gear our efforts towards this progress with impact. So we'll be talking about anger. In our daily lives, we come across various manifestations of it, and we see trailers in front of us in the form of transference of anger, sometimes to kids, sometimes to maid where it is applicable, and sometimes utensils sounding of utensils. In our culture, there is an example that when utensils collide, they make a sound. It refers to the intimate relationship that when husband wife there, they are also like utensils and they make their own sounds when anger comes and there is a fight between them. Okay, so I was referring to this, that everywhere we see the trailers of anger. You have anger, I have anger, we all have anger problems. Only its management matters. We will be dealing with anger in 3 parts, but prior to that, let's come to its definition through the dictionary, that it refers to the feeling of agitation, hostility. It's basically a primary emotion, a secondary emotion, which is always preceded by some primary emotion like fears, like depression, sadness, or something. We'll talk about it, but let me tell you, today we will be dealing it in 3 phases. First phase is its causes and how to manage it proactively. Second one starts with the onset, how to face anger, and third one is once it passes, how to deal it afterwards, and each phase will have its own tips. So to understand it better, I will start with the acronym REDS. Red is an intense color of emotions and a danger sign too. R refers to rules, E to expectations, and D for demands. You could also remember it in the form of danger. It's a danger sign by adding D before anger. So I was talking about REDs. Our rules, our expectations, and our demands. 2 examples I'll quote in that regard. One will be from my culture, that same maid, if she has to work in one house and if she goes to another house, what could be the results? People have different cleaning standards, owing to their quality and quantity. It all depends on their rules and regulations, and their anger will follow accordingly. Similarly, our second example could be of privacy intrusion, owing to the introversion and extroversion factors. It depends how extrovert or introvert you are and how much privacy is your rule, your expectation, your demands, the alteration of which could bring anger. So this is how anger manifests itself, owing to our comfort zones, our privacy. Sometimes we attach our ego, we relate to the situations like take Facebooking for instance, or Instagram. Why do we get angry over these small things on social media? Because we attach our ego, our verdict to it. The need is to detach it. Sometimes we are seeing some tragedy movie, we relate to it, we start crying, we become angry. That is also the way we relate to it. Now suppose there is no situation, we are sitting coolly and with peace. All of a sudden the negative thoughts will start bombarding our memory, and we will be thinking about past thoughts. We really need to see what are our internal and external triggers. And you might have come across this feeling that this is how I have been exploited. We will be involving in self-pity. Okay, now here I stop and I will bring a quote of Barbara D. Engels, an American relationship consultant. In her book, You for Me, she has written that we are emotionally programmed by the age of 18, up to 95%. But the 5% constitutes the rest of our lives owing to our behavioral patterns, our thinking patterns, and this 5% has so much impact that it can altogether eradicate the impact of 95% that we learned by the age of 18. Referring to this example simply means that we do have potential, we do have capacity to improve, only we need to be little self-demanding and we need to come out of our comfort zone. Similarly, we could also apply NLP technique, which is neuro-linguistic programming. How do you express your sentences more positively, whether it's your thought pattern or it is your communication? For example, if you might have come across this thing, usually in professional setting, I'm totally dissatisfied with your report. Now, there is another way of saying that as well, that okay, I expect a lot more in future from you. Or sometimes we say in our home settings, I want this, I want that, I want you to do it. What is the better way of saying? I prefer you're doing this for me. Instead of strict wants, wishes, we could, set our preferences to keep our comfort level good. There are other things as well which are called slogans and signals. There are certain slogans which really harness our mind, they give us energy. For example, man has a lot of potential. God has given him a lot of potential. The emphasis here is on which word? It's on potential. So whenever the potential comes to our mind, we should be conditioned to, look back into our capacity. Okay, problem has come. Where is my capacity? Where is my potential? How should I reply to this situation? This is a slogan part. Similarly, there is a signal thing as well. Now, at the onset of any emotion, as I said, that anger comes as a secondary emotion. Prior to it is always fear of losing control, fear of dependency, fear of failure, or some worry. If it is not possible for you to get charge of it mindfully and to stop yourself for reaction, what you could do, you could assign it to your partner or anybody close in the family to give you a signal word, a word on which you could become statue-like thing. It could be word emotional. You could come up with your own word. Emotional, you are getting emotional. Emphasis is on emotional. And you start, preparing yourself that, okay, I don't have to go to the intensity. Anger problem we all have, but we have intensity problems. Our intensity differs for it. Our stress threshold will determine at what stage of anger we are. And for that, we will have to make some efforts. Sometimes there are some comfort zone statements like, and they increase your sensitivity level very high as well. Like, there could be many, but you could always counter it with alternatives. Like, for example, if we don't feel like doing anything, we could give reminder to our brain that, okay, life is not a bed of roses. It's a time to recharge my batteries. It's a time to come in action, to derive maximum out of myself. Okay, now we will be coming to the proactive management part of it. Proactive, prior to action, versus reactive. When anger confronts us, or when any stressful we are confronted with any stressful stimuli or situation, what happens? That we give our reactive response to it. Take an example of wall, ball and humans in this. What happens when you throw a ball to a wall? Wall is a non-living thing. The wall will bounce back the ball, and if there is a human to catch it, he will catch it, and that will be human response. What does it refer to? It refers to absorption thing, which is a control part. Not a control part to, if you will try to control others, that is highly detrimental for health, because anger has its impact on relationships, long lasting impact on your health as well. Control part is for ourselves, how we will control, how we will monitor self. These are all emotional competencies I'm talking about. Self audit needs to be done, self awareness should be there, and our monitoring and regulation part starts. That refers to our internal control. So I was talking about proactive management, that when there is a stressful stimuli, we should recall the example of this wall and ball and absorption thing, and we should ask ourselves, okay, I'm human, I have to practice absorption right now, because same time if you react, you could come up with bad response. You proactive management part of your anger will basically increase your holding power, our breathing power. Breathing has to be done also in a certain fashion, not like shallow breathing or these things. We have to, like I will give you an example. Hold your this pressure points. Inhale, hold it, exhale. There is a very useful app which you could download. It's called Dare. It's a paid one, but there are some parts, especially the deep breathing of it is very good. It will let you hold yourself for a counting of 5, and then you could release it. So that kind of thing will increase your holding power. You could also, inhale positive emotion. While inhaling, you could bring positive emotions, love, care, compassion, and while exhaling it out, you could exhale the negative ones, anger, fear, and other emotions. Then exercise also harness your positive emotions, and sometimes you could go to the extent of self pampering as well, within limits. We have our pressure points here, self massaging, facial, a pressure point massage could give you a relaxation. It could be floating technique, flotation. If you have a tub, you could put some salt if you have body pain or so, or you could put some good fragrance, bubble bath, stay in it, float, it will give you relaxation. Or you could opt for the relaxation tapes. What are those? Mindfulness one, I discussed in my earlier presentation about them in detail. Mindfulness one and self hypnosis ones. You will be you will be responding to it very calmly if you proactively manage your anger. And then look for the people with positive vibes for your upliftment and your energy and your motivation. I do not disqualify people, because we should be taking people as whole. We might also be having many toxicities. We cannot just label out people that they are toxic. Okay, they might be toxic in their some other roles and in some situations, but they could be beneficial as well. So, but when your stress threshold is at lower level and there are people who could buck you out, that time you should set your boundaries, set your rules, and maintain your distance with them, and should look for the people with positive vibes. Okay, and don't give your remote in the hands of others to trigger your anger. Your greatest enemy could be you, and your greatest friend could also be you, owing to your self-fulfilling prophecies or self-defeating patterns. Your food part, medical part, support groups part, everything fall under this category of proactive management. Which kind of food you should take? Vegetables, fruit, less caffeine. Which kind of medicines you should go for? There are, in my last presentation, last live talk, I talked about the psychotic drugs, Zoloft, Triptanol, and clonazepam for your phobias and all that. But if you don't want to go for psychotic drugs, it will depend upon the intensity of your anger, how much violence it carries with it. And of course, with your medical practitioner, you will be discussing this and then you will take it. There are some vitamins which are from African extract with the name of 5-HTP in various, with various milligram. It is available. You could opt for that. Then there are some Ayurvedic solutions like mentate, Tagara for insomnia, mentate for boosting your mental power and to slow you down, to desensitize sometimes your mind. You need homeopathic drugs as well. Natramure 200 is good for stress. And this way you could capture your medical part if it is necessary. Then which kind of support groups? Obviously this anger management groups are available there owing to your emotion, which is a trigger point. When I was at my last workplace, I conducted a workshop on emotional intelligence, and as a result of that we made various groups: jealousy group, fear group, anger group, forgetfulness group. And on a weekly basis we used to assign them goals in 4 domains, because this is okay, your emotional composure is at stake, but working on your strengths and other areas like physical, spiritual, intellectual and emotional domains, and setting goals with them will help you out. Plus you should also have a focus on your life mission, so that the life doesn't go purposeless. We are the master of our lives. We should not let our minds go astray and take charge of us. We should rather be pilot of our lives. So when mission will be there, our objectives will be there, these kind of distractions which comes with anger and which could spoil our health, we would be able to keep them at bay. Now this finishes your, and one more thing, how I controlled my anger. Long time back, around 25 years back, I also used to have anger problem. I also have right now, but it's better managed. That time I used to have my anger frequency more. 3 rows per day was my frequency. I was given some stuff on anger management by my mentor to be read, and then I was supposed to maintain my log sheet. What is the frequency? If it is 3, how to minimize it with the passage of time, within a week time, on a fortnightly basis, how to bring it to 2, then 1, like this. And then daily episodes should not follow. In a week's time it should come, then in a month. This way also you could go for the anger management control. Stage 2 is upon facing anger. Now arguments escalate and situation is beyond your control and you are stuck with the anger part. It has come to you. At that time what will you do? You could change your position, could start counting, breathing exercises as I mentioned in proactive part. That time also you will have to, this breathing you will have to take help of in proactive state as well as the confrontational state. What would be the external source? It could be water. Those who were Muslims, they could go for ablution, and those you could go for drink of water, you could go for facing your wash. You might have heard that water dilutes the anger. Those with depression problems are often advised to take more bath and all that. Utensil making, utensil washing, very interesting thing is that you could take help of that thing as well. It is not that unpleasant job too, because if you go towards that thing, and what is anger basically? It's a negative energy. That time if you walk, or that time if you go for utensil washing, it will have a double impact on you. And sometimes situation is so adverse, the stimuli is so painful and you could not dare to stay there. You need to walk out from the painful stimuli. So these are something on which you could work. Another thing is that pen the action. See, when you are feeling, look for your internal state. When we are hungry, what happens? We know we are hungry and we need food. Look for your internal state that time. What is your exact state and express it. How? See, I am feeling anxious right now, or I am exhausted. Verbalize it, express it. If your partner or whosoever is closer near you and want to start some discussion or anything, just tell them, okay, I am feeling anxious, or I am feeling exhausted, or I am feeling tired, I need to sleep. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Now we are deploying which pronouns? I for expressing my feeling, right? And we will sort it out tomorrow. We for conflict resolution. Always express I when you have to express your feelings, so that you should not shift the blame to other person. That way you will, because if confrontation start, blaming start, then it is very difficult. It will harm you. It will not let you come up with the good response. So this is how we make use of I and we. And if it could affect your intimate relationship very badly if you have anger problem. At work also you could have difficulty, but it is not our choice where we are born. Our mother, our siblings, our parents, father, in the world we have not come up with the choice of selecting our relation, but only the intimate relationship, husband wife relationship, you have a choice. This is the first relation on earth, and this is the relation which we choose by ourselves, and for remaining happy you have to keep your dependent happy. And we have to also look for it that we should not do something which could be a source of arousal for another person. Responsibility, ability to choose our response lies with our choice. Now this phase is also gone. We come upon the anger management passing phase. What should we do? Anger is gone. At that time we need to reframe the situation. Okay, whatever is the interpretation, we need to change it if it's possible, because you see, we play many parts in our lives, many roles, and one role is of a catalyst. The role of a catalyst, change maker, will be applied to our daily life. You will see the changes following. Maybe the person with situation which strike your anger, or the person whom you were confronting, he had some own problems, he might be upset with some other thing. You need to empathize with that person by putting yourself into his shoes. Let go, if it's the matter of letting it go. Or you could go for the assertive expression, for the new rules setting, because cruelty, digesting cruelty is not advisable. We have to be genuine with ourselves as well. Sometimes meaningful silence means a lot, but if it is not producing any result, you need to set boundaries with that person who invokes your trigger, or which is a trigger for your anger. How much time you take for moving on, it will determine your stage. Because I will give example of my religion. In our religion, 3 days time is being given, that within 3 days you should reconcile and you should talk to the person. Now reconciliation doesn't mean that you do not set boundaries, but you should not disqualify a person, and it is not for the betterment of another person, it is for our betterment as well. If you will keep your mind filtered and empty from all those things, negative emotions, that will be better for us. Forgive it, move on. And as far as freedom is concerned, that okay, this is my right, he should not do it, that should not do it. See, environmental factors are never under our control, but our reaction is always in our control. And if we opt for more freedom is more only in jungles. We are societal animals, social animals, and societal implications, bindings apply to us. So we have to remain within the boundary of compliance to all those. In short, I would now conclude it with ABC. A stands for acceptance of anger, B for breathing, which is very important, and C for control. With this, I would conclude the session, and for reference, you could refer to my book as well. It is Beyond the Horizon of Success Competence. EQ chapters and mental blockades chapters are there. Anger management is one among all mental blockades, and you could refer to it. Thank you very much for your patience. See you next time.